the reasons why you should collect Korean Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and also the reasons why you maybe shouldn't collect Korean Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to cover Korean cards. And first of all, let's talk about some general aspects about Korean cards. Generally speaking, Korean cards are like the little brother of the TCG. They don't add any special rarities, but in exchange they are way cheaper and more accessible than European or North American cards. But at the same time, this comes with a cost, because usually Korean cards do not appreciate in value and therefore are a bad investment. If you're someone who likes to collect cards but also likes the fact that the cards are somewhat valuable or might even appreciate in value over time, Korean cards are definitely a very bad choice for that. Why is that the case, you asked? Because Korean cards are being printed up to this day. They are mass-produced cards and are not comparable to the amounts and quantities of cards produced by Japanese markets and also by EU or NA markets. For the longest time, Korean Yu-Gi-Oh was the only available source for vintage Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so you were able to buy Legend of Blue Eyes displays, Metal Raiders displays, Spell Ruler displays from the early years of 2002 up until 2023. So if you just like to collect these old looking cards with the artwork from the cards way back then, Korean cards are actually very nice, because you can get these very cheap. You can get displays for around 30 to 40 bucks and you can have the nice nostalgia rush. What I personally do not really like about Korean cards is that they are not adding any value. For me, value is special rarities or special prints of cards, whereas especially Japan always have something up their sleeves and are bringing out new rarities, but for Korean, not so much. But one thing I have to give to Korean cards: actually there is products which just aired in Japan and Korea is actually getting them as well and printing them as well. The only problem here is that Korean is mass producing these products like the Prismatic Art Collection, whereas in Japan there is limited quantity and therefore the value of the cards can appreciate over time. Korean cards, this is definitely not the case, so unless you just like the cards for your collection, don't buy modern Korean displays. It will be very tough to sell those. So to sum up, very good to collect if you just like to collect the cards, very bad if you somewhat want an appreciation of your collection, and also sometimes it is just nice to collect something because it is rare, harder to get, and might also appreciate in value. Alright, now we talked a little bit about Korean cards, but there is two exceptions I want to mention here, because there's actually two very important things to keep in mind, because all the things I just told you do not apply to these. First of all, first edition Korean cards are very rare and scarce. You don't ever see them coming up for sale, and if they do, they're usually sold in an instant and you won't be able to find them again. But again, same aspect here. Just because something is rare, if these cards are not adding anything to the game itself by releasing special rarities or exclusive artworks, why should you go for Korean if they are more expensive in first edition? Why don't you just go for the TCG or the Japanese prints instead, right? One more thing I want to tell you is there is actually a card which doesn't exist in the TCG and also not in the OCG, so to say. It is the ESP2 Dark Magician Girl. It is the sitting Dark Magician Girl, and there is a secret rare of this card only in Korean available. So this is something Korea did right. This is something a collector like me would like to have in his collection, because there's just no other printing of this card in secret rare in English or also in Japanese. Well done. But again, these are exceptions, and basically the rule of thumbs I told you are applying to Korean cards. Alright. So Korean cards are generally bad investments and are just nice to collect. Okay, but why am I showing you me opening this Korean box here? To understand this, I have to tell you a little bit about Ultimate Rares. Don't worry, I will make it very quick and skip a few details, but if you're more interested in this topic especially, let me know in the comment section below, guys, because I am an Ultimate Rare expert and I love to talk about this. Alright, to sum it up, guys, if we talk about Ultimate Rares, the embossed rarity, I hope you know what we are talking about. If not, maybe look it up and have a quick search on Google. Ultimate Rares are the embossed cards. They are like relief cards, they are like imprinted. So you have like these carvings. And depending on the region where these were printed and made, the carvings look very different. There is 3 rule of thumbs here. For NA, which would be North America, usually the embosses are very flat. So if you look at a North American print of an ancient Gear Golem, for example, at first glance it might even look like an ultra rare because you can't see any ultimate rare relief. Whereas if you have an European version, which is the second region where ultimate rares were printed, you can see way more details in the relief and the emboss. The third and final region would be Asia, and we can differentiate here between Asian English and Japan, but I'm not doing it for the sake of the video. Let's just talk about Asian ultimate rares, and usually Asian ultimate rares are also very nicely embossed, so they have a lot of detail. So where is Korea inside of these three areas? Korea is somewhere between the EU variants of the ultimate rares and the Asian ultimate rares. At this point I want to say, sometimes the EU variants of the ultimate rares look even better than the Asian ones, sometimes it is the opposite, but usually EU and Asia have the most embossed ultimate rares. Yeah, there's an exception to 5Ds for NA, but for the sake of the video guys, again, I will keep it simple. So we now have these rule of thumbs. So if you open Korean cards, you can expect the ultimate rares to look very nice and have a lot of detail, because they are somewhat like EU or Asian ultimate rares. And this is exactly the reason why I'm opening these sets. As an ultimate rare collector, I really like to have a lot of different versions of cards to compare them, to admire the differences, even if they're small in like the relief. And therefore adding Korean to my already existing Asian English and also EU copies is just extremely nice. Also, there is some ultimate rares which are so expensive in Asia or even in EU that I sometimes think I will just get the Korean cheaper version for now, and when I got more money to spend on these high-end cards, I will just add the higher end cards to my collection at that point. But one more thing before I let you guys go is to actually know that not all Korean sets are EU print quality. To mention some out of the top of my head: Flaming Eternity, Rise of Destiny, Enemy of Justice, Power of the Duelist, Tactical Evolution. These sets definitely don't look that nice and don't have that deep carving. So again, you see, there is certain rules, but there's also exceptions to those rules, so keep that in mind. Don't just blindly go and buy. Research it first and then you will know what you're buying. And the last thing I'm going to tell you right here is my newest finding actually, that Korean Soul of the Duelist actually looks phenomenal. I have yet to find a picture on the internet about the Armed Dragon level 5, but in my recent videos I have shown you that I got an Asian English Armed Dragon level 5 ultimate rare, which for sure is one of the most unique and crazy reliefs out there, because there is no alternative in any other printing. But I found that Korean Soul of the Duelist has extremely nice carving as well. And the remarkable thing is that Soul of the Duelist, Rise of Destiny and Flaming Eternity was completely printed in NA, which means that the emboss of the cards is quite flat, and after these three sets EU started to print their own sets in Belgium, and therefore the emboss changed here a lot after these sets. But for the first three sets, only the Asian English region has its whole beauty embossed in these ultimate rares. But now I found out that Korea also has a very nice relief for Soul of the Duelist. Not for Flaming Eternity and also not for Rise of Destiny, but for Soul of the Duelist for sure. And this is all the information I had for you guys in this video. I hope you enjoyed, and next week I will probably open a Korean box again, and when I'm doing so I might also do a Q&A live here on the channel where you can ask me anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, and I hope we will have a great time. Alright, this is all I had for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see us very soon in a new video. Your Bilingual Duelist. Ciao.